is the Legends Lounge podcast with Deji Omotoyinbo, Segun Agbede, and Mumini Alao.
Hello, folks. Welcome to episode 5 of the Legends Lounge podcast. And I have my friends here with me today, back after a break. The last episode had Unduka Agbede. I'm sure you guys watched it. Hilarious episode. I laughed my heart out. Segun Agbede is here. Of course, Mumini Alao is also here. Gentlemen, today we're taking a little bit of a detour. It's still football, but not the players or not, we're talking about coaches. You know, there's been this constant, I don't want to call it a debate. I want to call it a discussion or discourse, constant discourse about local vis-a-vis foreign coaches. So people feel there's no local coach that's good enough or was ever good enough for the Super Eagles. If you want to play at a high level, you have to get foreign coaches. Another school of thought is, okay, yes, we have foreign coaches, but what quality of foreign coaches are you getting? Can you afford the top of the tops and all of that? So all of that will come into the discussion today. I did a bit of research and I found out that we've had 22 foreigners coach the Super Eagles, right. And I think we had about 11 Nigerians. So on the scale of, it's 2 to 1 already.
2 to 1.
So Mumini, let me start with you. You've been close to both sets of coaches. Yeah. Foreign coach, seen them on the job. Local coach, seen them on the job. Yeah. If you were to make a choice, I know there will always be gray areas, yeah. But if you were to make a choice, who do you think is best for the job and why?
All right. Maybe I should start by saying maybe there's a third category.
Okay.
All right.
Which you already have.
Not completely foreign.
Okay.
Not completely local. And that's our former internationals.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Why do you say that? They are local.
I say that because they are not.
They are like
Nigerians.
They are like hybrid.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why
I get what you mean.
Let's have a third category.
I get what you mean.
And in my opinion, I will go for that third category. Because you asked me to make a choice between the first two that you mentioned, foreign or local. I will go for the hybrid because they have the knowledge of the local game. They know the temperament of Nigerian players because they were former players, former national team players, etc. And they are also exposed to international football because they played at the highest level for the best clubs around the world, went to the World Cup. So I would think that they will be the best choice for us when it comes to which is the best option, as you put the question. So, and that's the category of Stephen Keshi, Samson Siasia, Osini Gavron, and
so I was going to throw that question back at you.
Okay.
We've had that category in charge, and still there's always this. I know a couple of people. I don't want to mention names. You know some of them. Let me mention he's our friend. Dudu Orume does not believe a Nigerian coach can be good enough for the national team.
Maybe if you put this question to him, because like I said now, I've categorized Nigerian coaches into 2.
I've heard him talk about even the Nigerian
even the hybrid
category, yes.
Okay.
Some people just feel that there's something about the Nigerian, which I disagree with. There's something about the Nigerian in charge of the Super Eagles and that, quote and unquote, there won't be enough respect. And I disagree completely with that. So we've had Olise has handled the team, Keshi has handled the team, Eguavon has handled the team even lately. Siasia has handled the team, and they fall into this category. So why do you feel there's still this feeling of they're still not good enough?
I wouldn't think that that's a general opinion.
Okay.
Fine, you mentioned Dudu.
I agree with you. I agree with you on
that's
that.
his own personal opinion.
I agree with you on that.
Okay? Because, for instance, I've just expressed my own opinion that they would be my preference if I have to choose, amongst these 3 categories that we have mentioned. And when you talk about respect, it's the coach. It's the personality of the coach that will demand that respect or lack of it. Okay? His style of management, his pedigree, what he has achieved before. Those are the things that will, naturally. Exactly. So I think respect is a matter of the individual, whether it's foreign or local or hybrid.
I agree on that. So Segun, we have to say though, handing it to the foreign coaches, they were the ones that give us our breakthroughs in terms of winning international trophies or international, going back to the 70s where we had Father Tico, who nearly took us to the World Cup as well. He was the coach between 74 and 78. 2 bronze finishes, and I think they laid the foundations of the team that eventually won in 1980. So where do you stand on this argument? If you had a choice, before we go into looking at the coaches, different coaches and the impact on our football, where do you stand?
To be honest, I tend to, I hear what Mumini said, and I do not necessarily agree about the 3 categories, because I feel along the line, our international Super Eagles players come coaches have been lumped into under that umbrella
of Nigerian
coaches.
Okay, you're saying generally there's no, that delineation is not there.
I don't really see, because Nigerians don't see it. I mean, maybe when he sees it because he's in the business of sports. So with his trained eye and his attention and his experience, but the average I just is Nigerian coach, foreign coach. I mean, look at what, I mean, one of my most celebrated players and arguably the best number 7 that, I mean, that's an argument we can have maybe for another day, that ever played for Nigeria, Finidi George. Whether, Big Sheikh, it's better, whatever. Look at, he was literally rubbish. With his, how many games did he take over the Super Eagles coach? And as far as I'm concerned, big shout out to the NFF for hanging him out to dry, in my opinion, So, the way I see it is that we have the foreign coach and we have Nigerian coaches. Now, I believe if we go back to the days of Chief Festus, who won us the silver medal,
Silver,
1984, or even Christian Chukwu, fantastic Green Eagles captain, took us to, I think, 2004 Nations Cup.
He was in charge from 2002 to 2005. I think we got to the semi-finals under him.
A couple of nations then, So then the likes of the late great Shuaib Amodu and all, we had good Nigerian tacticians, Yes, Otto Gloria, Father Tico. Who won us the All Africa Games gold in 1973? I watched that game live, but
that was 73. I can't remember.
I have no remember. I can't remember.
We'll have to. That's a good question.
But I think it was a Nigerian coach.
Was it a Nigerian coach?
We need to confirm that.
Because I was there.
Was it Peter Ito Amechina?
I think it was a Nigerian coach, because it was after that Father Tico came into the picture.
Father Tico came in 74.
So that's food for thought.
Father Tico came in 74.
So basically, Nigerian coaches, I mean, foreign coaches have done well for us. I mean, Westerhoff and Bonfrey Joe.
Okay, let's go back.
Were good.
Let's go to the ones that maybe laid the foundation for success. Father Tico was the first one. At that point in time, winning, even that bronze that he won, I think a couple, 76 and 78, it meant a lot to us from where we were coming from. Father Tico, 74, 76 and 78, when we won bronze medal in, I think, Morocco. No, Addis Ababa.
76 was
Accra.
Tower.
78 was
and
in
then
Ghana.
78 was in Accra. So, at that point in time, did you think that, here we are, these guys are getting something? Because it's also very difficult to work here for somebody who came from the Western world. It's very difficult to work here. We have to, even up till today.
Yes.
Not to talk of the 70s. So, did you at that point in time feel this is the way to go? Or is a stopgap? Because some people said, maybe we had a stopgap. Transfer knowledge, train up Nigerian coaches, and then let's take over from, as we did in so many other industries.
To be honest, for me then, I couldn't care less, even if we had somebody from Mars as a coach. I just wanted success.
But I think it was a deliberate plan at that time. It was the late Isaac Akeoye, who was in charge of the Nigerian Sports Commission.
At the time,
The best man that handled that office, in my opinion. Okay? And for him, it wasn't football alone.
Also across all sports.
It was across all
athletics.
Sports. Athletics,
I remember.
boxing, weightlifting.
Volleyball.
So they just went for foreign coaches for some of these sports. And as you mentioned, the idea was transfer of knowledge. So local coaches were attached to all of these foreign coaches. And Yugoslavia was in the former Eastern Europe. And Isaac Akeoye, he was more attracted to technical officials coming from the Eastern Europe, because they were very, very effective, very efficient, and all of that. And they weren't asking for too much money, because it's not as if they were as rich as the Western Europe. So at that time, it was a deliberate policy by the NSC to bring these foreign coaches to coach our sports, all our national teams, and then transfer knowledge to the local coaches. Okay, and I think we took that all the way to 1980 when Otto Gloria came, as you said.
Okay, it brings a question. I'll ask the two of you what you feel. It brings a question to my mind. If you take a look at these coaches, diverse, from a Yugoslav to a Brazilian to a German. It looks like we're just going all over the place. Because, you know, in football, there are what you call schools of football thoughts.
Yeah.
Some will tell you Eastern Bloc, they are good at both the physical aspect and the creative aspect. That is the old Yugoslavia and all of where Spartacus came from. Some will tell you Brazil, back then Brazil was all about skill. They were not
Jogo Bonito.
They were not too smart about, and they had to learn the hard way. I think from 1982 when Italy, they had to learn to mix the two. But it just looks as if we're a bit haphazard about this choice. Of course, coach is Shegun first.
Well, I hear what you say. You know, because we always ask, what is a coach's philosophy? So, what kind of
what's your football? That's what I'm
what's the football philosophy? And yeah, we kind of went from the Eastern Europe to the Jogo Bonito to Samba, free flowing football, and everything. That would be more. Maybe administrators not being able to make up their mind how they wanted the Green Eagles come Super Eagles to play then. But at the end of the day, it was all about churning out results. And as I said, as a youngster, all I was interested in was watching good football, and the Green Eagles now metamorphosized into the Super Eagles playing well, and they were quite successful. But the truth about it, we'll ask ourselves now, did that actually translate itself into the Super Eagles being known for a particular brand of a certain way of playing? Maybe everything came to fruition under the West Half era, where we became known as a solid 4-4-2, playing, you know, some powerful wingers, physical defenders, pacey wingers, and two solid strikers, one support striker, one arrowhead, and that's where we played with two midfielders that could either attack or defend, you know. And we've always had that from the days of the late great Buda Lawal, who, in my opinion, is probably the best player ever to don a Super Eagles jersey.
I agree with you on that.
Jersey.
I agree with you.
So,
but you know, they will tell you it's a generational thing.
Well, for me,
it is who you watch.
It's who you watch. Well, we are lucky to have watched everybody from Bobby Charlton to Buda Lawal
and then, you know, football has evolved over the years as well.
It has, yeah.
Mumini, Otto Gloria was the one that coached us to our first major title. Not disrespecting All Africa Games 73. Maybe that was like a smaller tournament, but the first major international title, Otto Gloria. What did you make of? I know Shegun Adegbami has spoken a lot about him. I spoke to Felix Olabi one time to the goal he scored in the semi-final against Morocco, how he switched tactics and all of that. What do you make of his impact on Nigerian football?
Well, I think he was lucky. Because as you said earlier, Fanatico already did the groundwork, 76, 78.
Yeah.
So we're playing at home in 1980. That was another advantage.
We didn't have to play qualifiers.
Sorry, can I just, are you saying that Otto Gloria was like an Annie slot? Just slotted in. Touche.
That's all right.
Nobody doesn't care. As long as Liverpool get the
Show me the trophy.
Show me the trophy.
You know, so I think Otto Gloria was lucky. And as you mentioned, Odegbami said Otto Gloria didn't have to do so much work. That in fact during their training he would just sit down and he left all the work to his Nigerian assistant.
Self-motivated.
Yes, and he just picked the players and then they went there and they did the business. And in fact, Odegbami said he spent about a month in Brazil to practice, you know, to prepare for that AFCON.
Yeah.
And that was where the team, the whole team, that they were in Brazil for a whole month. That's not possible nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
No European club will release it, because at that time all the players were playing at home, Rangers, ISC Shooting Stars, and the rest of them. And by the time they came back from Brazil, said their attitude to the game actually changed. That from the kick and follow, all power,
or raw aggression,
Atuegbu and all of that. That they now started slowing down the game a little bit. Trying to pass the ball what they saw in Brazil. So I would say Otto Gloria was just lucky, because soon after 82 AFCON, Okay.
He bombed.
Exactly. When we went to it was in Libya.
Libya, yeah,
exactly.
Libya.
So
we didn't even qualify.
We didn't even qualify from our group. So in terms of his impact, I think he was just lucky to be around at the right time when Nigeria won the first half, playing at home, so many things going for us. Had a very good team, fired up. So and then thereafter, although I don't know the direction we want to go, thereafter, and that is when I talked about between the discussion between foreign coaches and local coaches. If you look at history, each time a local coach has fumbled, if I can use that expression, then we start looking for a foreign coach.
Yeah.
And when the foreign coach gets it wrong, we start looking for a local coach.
It looks like that cycle.
That has been the cycle. So when Gloria didn't do well in AFCON 82, that was what opened the door for Onigbinde to come in.
I was going to come to that. Onigbinde, two Nigerian coaches come to my mind.
Okay.
That I feel in a lot of ways, maybe three, in a lot of ways, they were, quote unquote, not given their dues, their proper dues for what they did with Nigerian football.
Underrated and
underappreciated. Yes, those words fit in properly. Festus Onigbinde, Amadou Shaibu, Stephen Keshi.
I agree completely with that.
I think Stephen got his flowers with so recipes, but
some will still tell you the 2013 AFCON was a fluke.
No.
I've heard it said in levels at places I didn't expect to hear that.
I brush it off.
Of course, I don't argue. I don't brush the board. But for it to even be contemplated, for people to say a team went through 6 games in an AFCON title, beating Cote d'Ivoire then. You remember we had to beat Cote d'Ivoire.
We were underdogs against them.
Underdogs, and it was a fluke. It just goes to underline how people try to, play down. Well, Amadou Shaibu twice.
Yes.
He was given a rescue mission, and then once the rescue mission is done, they bring somebody else.
Yes.
Onigbinde did go to a World Cup in 2002.
He took it from Amadou.
So I just feel
I wrote an article some time ago, a long time ago now, Deji.
Yeah.
And I think I remember the title of that article in Soccer Talk was Coaches as Pawns and Cannibals.
Coaches as
pawns. And cannibals.
Well, okay.
You know the pawns on the chessboard?
Yes.
And then the cannibals.
And then the cannibal,
You see, coach, for what happened to Amadou that you just, referenced?
Mentioned, yeah.
Okay. He was a pawn, and the cannibal was Onigbinde. So it didn't matter that, this is my local Nigerian colleague. You shouldn't do that to him. I'm not going to take his job. All over the world, as we are firing one coach, another one is coming.
Of course.
So that's the nature of the job. So no apologies, nothing, whether it's foreign or local. Okay, so that's why I wrote. I said, look, they are just pawns on the chessboard of the sports managers.
Let's get personal now.
Okay.
Onigbinde, at the point in time he handled this, a lot of people were like, "Who is this man?" It was only the core football people that maybe knew him. Well, he had a good run at 84.
A beautiful run with a very young team.
A very young team.
Yes, he did. You remember I was moving from 82 to 84. And I said when we bombed up in 82, the team was disbanded more or less because the 80 team was also retained for 82. But at that time, most of the players were already getting old.
We also failed to qualify for the World Cup. The debacle in Lagos when we lost in 81.
Algeria. Okay. So when the Onigbinde came, he had to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Stephen Keshi, Peter Rufai, Chibuzo Ehilegu, and I think it was only Muda Lawal.
It
was only Muda Lawal from the old generation. So in terms of impact that you asked about the Brazilian before him, Otto Gloria. I would think it was Onigbinde that actually had an impact, during that era, because we had to start from scratch, and he took that team all the way to the final against the Cameroonian team that had just gone to the World Cup in 82,
and done very well.
And he came back with the bronze medal. So I will give it to Onigbinde. Silver medal, I want to say. Silver medal, I wanted to say. So in terms of the Nigerian coaches, because you have, Shegun has said I shouldn't differentiate between.
By the way, sorry, by the way, that's the only time Cameroon beat us fairly.
You have gone back to this Cameroon.
That's the only one. That's the only time that the
Shegu has gone back to this
That's the only time.
This Cameroon.
That's the only time. Not.
Have you ever been to Cameroon?
I have not.
Please don't go there.
But that's the only time.
Because if you go there, I'm not sure what you would do.
That's
to
the
see
only time they
Cameroonian
beat us
devil.
fairly. That one in '84, I said that one.
So I think Onibinde's experience in '84, because he keeps telling the story anytime you interview him, he didn't have footballs to train with. Okay, he will have to drive from Ibadan to Lagos.
But that's another angle to this discussion.
Yes, I'm coming. You know, so if you can imagine going far back to '84, okay, and the Nigerian coach was having problems to even get footballs to train with
Back then as well.
back then. So that tells you that this issue of disrespect, as you called it, for the Nigerian coach is a long story.
Yeah.
It's been happening for a long time. And while not making excuses for it, because it's really not
Not proper.
it's not proper. Okay, we should measure the performance of coaches based on, as Segun said, the result. If he gets the result, let him retain the job. Unfortunately, only when they took us to the final in '84, got the silver medal. Thereafter, he was fired. He wasn't there for '86. Okay,
Yeah, and
so
we didn't qualify in '86, I think.
we didn't even qualify for '86. But he had already been relieved of his job. I think it was Udemize.
Or Udemize, Chris
Udemize that took over from
Udemize took over, then Paul Hamilton
Then
also
Paul
was
Hamilton. Paul Hamilton took over from Udemize, yes, because Westerhoff took over from Paul Hamilton.
there. Okay.
Incidentally, talking about Pawns and Cannibals, Hamilton
I like
was on the
that.
verge. He was on the verge of taking us to the 1990 World Cup in Italy. All right, we had that game against Cameroon in Yaoundé.
We talked about
No,
it then.
but we've skipped a bit.
Okay,
Because
88.
Chief, hold their head. Who took us to
Maroc
Maroc 88?
Manfred Horner.
it was
Manfred
Honor,
Honor.
a German.
Uh-huh.
A
So
German.
you see what I meant? From Yugoslavia to Brazil to Germany.
To Nigeria.
No.
To Nigeria first,
Then-
and then to
So
Germany.
from Chief Festus Sonibide to Chris Udumeze
Udemize.
to Paul Hamilton, then to
No. It was to Manfred Honor first.
Manfred Horner.
Okay, that's
It was
it's-
after
Manfred
Horner.
Horner. This thing that Mumini said.
Yes.
We're going Nigerian foreigner.
Foreign.
Nigerian foreigner. So Paul Hamilton came after Manfred Horner, who only did Maroc 88, and I think we got
Yes.
to the finals as well.
got-
I was a super.
That
That was one of the
that was
best
that.
efforts ever.
Please don't go there, Shegu. Don't mention Cameroon again. And then we went to Hamilton, who
Yes.
we tend to have this what I call panic stations. Shegu, Manfred Horner had taken us not there but close. I
Very
said Manfred
close.
Horner. Paul Hamilton took over from Manfred Horner.
Yes.
And we were one game left in that qualifier.
Yeah.
And they brought
Westerhoff.
Why couldn't we just have allowed Paul Hamilton to finish those qualifiers? Because Westerhoff, I think we lost that game away to Cameroon, by the way.
My footballing name is. But I'll just say, gentlemen, can you see one recurring decimal in everything that we're talking about?
Yeah.
A total lack of consistency
Yes.
in
And no method to the madness.
no method to the madness, no methodology. What was the plan? As you said, okay. In fact, I'll say to you in Yoruba, Eije. Try this one. If it doesn't work, then try another one.
Any mindy mo.
Any mini, okay. You see, it shows that maybe you went to a more posh secondary school. Because my is AJ. You know, so it's for me that and that kind of the methodology is still with us till today. There's
I think we can agree on that point that at that time it was haphazard. We didn't know.
Up till now.
We didn't know exactly
It's
what we
haphazard.
were
Up till
looking for.
now.
And that's the point. Up till now, it's haphazard. Because if you look at all the foreign coaches that we've had, every single one of them, you cannot point to this was the reason, these were the parameters ticked why this gentleman was picked.
Well, maybe if you interview the FA technical department, you know,
Over the years.
those who interview these coaches, I'm sure they will have an answer. You might not accept the explanation, but
They don't even tell us any. They don't even. We just heard they pluck a
brother.
name out, and the name is
My
announced,
brother,
and that's it.
I know.
Occasionally-
I know some
occasionally-
people on this technical, they will never. You ask them one on one of them. How did you arrive at this? They will be
let
telling
me
stories.
give a sense. Let me give a sense of some of what I've heard Each time I talk to them, what are the parameters that we have used to employ this coach? Number one has been the financial factor has been number one. What the FA can afford. Okay? Because let me tell you, just like all the soccer fans, just like all the journalists, the FA guys too want the best coaches to come and coach the Super Eagles. They want the Mourinhos, they want the Guardiolas, they want...
Well, that's fantasy.
It's fantasy. They can't afford them. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the finance. We all know the story of how they struggle to pay these coaches. So, finance is always a key issue, okay, in determining who they go for. So, at the end of the day, tactics or 4-4-2 or all those factors we are talking about takes a back seat. Okay, we can afford this guy. Then they bring in all the other parameters. And
okay, I didn't want to go there, but I'll go there.
Okay.
Segun, okay. No disrespect, I honestly feel and I think something tells me Richel will do well, and I wish him well. If despite all the controversy surrounding his appointment. But let me go there because Mumini and I spoke about this before we sat down. How come suddenly, with all due respect to Richel, we can afford $50,000 for a Malian monthly? And I don't think if it was a Nigerian, we would ever get to that kind of level in terms of how much we pay him or her, as the case may be. Because we have some women, top-class coaches these days. But Mumini's argument is that why are the Nigerian coaches...
Let me speak for myself.
Yeah. No, I want him to answer. Why are the Nigerian coaches accepting to be undervalued? Where do you go on that?
Okay, before I answer your question, because I'm going to ask you a question in return. I'll give you this age-old fable.
Yeah.
A European reporter apparently came to Lagos from the abroad. I call it, came in from out of Africa, and he said, "I hear that Nigerians always answer a question with a question." So the guy now looked at and said, "Who told you that?" So I will now ask you, who told you that Shell is a Malian? He's a Frenchman.
No, by record? No, Chegu is a Frenchman.
Hold on.
By record, he's a Malian. In football terms, he's an ex-international for Mali. So he's a Malian.
But
it's just like now, Lukman is a Nigerian.
Okay, he's hybrid.
Back to your hybrid.
How do we know that the MFF don't regard him not as a Malian and African, but as a Frenchman? Now, but it's a good question in the sense that I, like you, believe that so we have no choice because we're hoping because our next two games, which I'm sure we'll discuss on some other program, we just are condemned to win.
Condemned is the word.
Just condemned, not compelled. Higher version. So for me, it's like, what is Shell's pedigree? He played. I'm struggling to remember the name of the tape. His playing career was mostly in France, anyway. And his coaching career was basically in the second, third tier of the French league. As far as I know, he's not even coached in Ligue 1. And then, after he coached Mali, where he did quite well in the last AFCON, quite well, he now is coaching a team in Algeria. So, the truth of the matter, if I wanted to be critical, I wanted to ask a lot of questions: how, why, what. But we have gone past that. Is the guy in place? So we all support him.
We all support him. We all wish him well.
But up to today, I don't understand the parameters with which he was chosen. That's it, to be honest. Unless based on his performance in AFCON,
and that goes back to what we talked about. No, there doesn't seem to be any methods. Even when some of the Nigerian coaches were, even when, case in point, Sunday Olise was appointed, it was difficult to explain how, where.
I think the FA chairman said he was our Guardiola at that time.
even Gennett Rowe. I used that to post that. I was actually the first guy in the sporting media to meet
Gennett Rowe.
Because from the moment Sheyi Akim, the then first vice president of the Nigerian Football Federation, went to pick him up at the airport and brought his very first night. We had dinner together in a hotel. And I find it very, very engaging person. And he spoke about he wanted to bring the players together. And he did quite well initially. But the question is, how was he selected as well? Do you understand?
Because you see, for me, going through this discussion about the way we've handled our coaches it does seem to me that over the years there has been no plan.
We have to agree on that.
I think
When
all
we've
of
been
us-
successful, we don't know. I can't remember how Westhoff was appointed. Even though Westhoff proved to be a huge success, it must be said.
Yes, up to God, this was a journeyman coach now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even
see,
the
it doesn't-
success was due to he had a strong man. Otherwise, he would have been kicked out long before achieve success.
And
according
that,
to
and that would have been most unfortunate.
unfortunate. So
That's
so
the lack
for-
of continuity
So
that
yeah.
Shegun
So
was talking about.
let's go to Westhoff because to be fair, Westhoff had
sorry to interrupt before you ask me the question. I'll call it Westhoff brilliance with what they achieved, but did Westhoff do so well? Maybe it's which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because he was a very, very good coach, of course, of the raw material that he just.
Both.
Do you understand that
Both
he
in our-
happened to inherit?
both,
Yeah,
both,
you understand?
Shegun. And you need to talk to the players to confirm that. Westhoff was a damn good manager. Was a very, very good manager.
you know you're a manager.
Are
of
we talking about
people and
man
emotions.
manager or tactician?
Both.
Both.
Okay.
At the end of the day, most importantly, you have to be a damn good manager. And that's why they call coaches manager in Europe.
As a manager of men.
Yes. You know,
Men,
they don't-
resources, emotions.
the
you
manager
manage
has
everything.
coaches working under him, you know, analyst, goalkeeper trainer, free kick specialist, and then he is the manager. He is the boss. And he takes the credit. So Westhoff was a damn good manager, and the results are there to show, or, you know, in terms of what he achieved. And I think all the coaches that have done well for Nigeria, they also showed similar traits. I was speaking to Peter Rufai, and he talked about when they were playing under Paul Hamilton and also Onibinde, and that these coaches didn't take any nonsense from them. Okay, that's far back as then.
Yeah.
You know, he said there was a time himself and Keshi went to London on a holiday, and Onibinde called the camp, and they started running back to camp because they knew Onibinde would not take any explanation.
Yeah.
So when you talk about disrespect, you know, I mentioned earlier that it's down to the coach, it's down to the manager himself, how he carries himself, how he imposes discipline in camp. That's what will determine the kind of respect he's going to attract from the players. Coming back to the issue of why will the FA offer a foreigner more than they will offer a Nigerian? You have told me not to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's fine. And I said it's down to the Nigerian. The mistake, in my opinion, that most Nigerian coaches make is when they get this offer, when they get this opportunity, they have this mindset of, I will take whatever they give me.
I'm too eager.
Let me
go
just
and
go
make
and
a name.
let me go and make a name. It's a national assignment. It's a national assignment. So let me go and prove them wrong. Who do you want to go and prove wrong? If you're a professional, if you are, you are capable, if you are sure of what you have to, you don't need to go and prove anybody anything anymore. Because by the time Amadou got the job, he had already proved himself as a good coach with BCC Lions.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic.
That was why he got the job in the first place. Okay, and I think in recent times, the reason we are not having local coaches getting that opportunity is because they've not been able to achieve anything
They are not
with
doing-
their club
they're not-
sides
I was,
on the continent.
I was going to come to that.
If you can't perform on the continent, how do you want to be considered for an international
the
job?
drawback for the hybrid people you mentioned
Exactly.
is the fact that
Yeah.
they are looking for a free ride to national team coaching. I've not seen any one of them. Okay, like now, Finidi George has gone back to Rivers United.
Yeah.
Amunike is at Heartland.
Yeah.
Go back, dirty your hands,
Absolutely.
develop your career, build it up. Because I always tell people that if you build yourself up to a point, they won't be able to ignore you.
Example is Keshi. Keshi went to Togo. He went
yeah.
to Mali. We all saw what he achieved.
And then
He took
And
Togo
then-
to the World Cup, even though
Even
he
though he
qualified.
He came
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
He came home and nobody could say no to him. You know, and in my opinion, you talk about Chile. I would think that Emmanuel Amunike was in the frame for that job, because if you ask me, I would think that Amunike is the one missing decimal amongst the
foreign
94
set.
who has not had a chance.
And
to
he's
coach the
also
Super Eagles.
he's gone to achieve something at least
At
of
least
value.
he went to
Tanzania.
Tanzania went to
yeah.
Nations Cup.
And I would think also that part of the reason he didn't get the job is because he stood his ground
On certain
on
conditions.
certain conditions.
Okay, that's a possibility.
And the pay
Was probably part of that.
all right, and he's going to get his chance at one
At some point,
or
yeah,
the other.
I believe that.
and he's going to get that $50,000
that we're talking about.
when the
to be
time
honest
comes.
with you-
Let me tell you, and that's why I keep saying that it's down to the coaches.
Okay.
Because I want to think that if Amunike had been ready to accept the pitch as
Whatever.
he will have had that job instead of Chelle.
That's a very valid.
Okay.
That's
So,
a very valid
You
angle.
see,
to
because
the
even
argument.
right now in where is it now? Heartland. I heard the governor of Imo State when Amunike was being
difficult.
introduced to the media. Okay. The presentation when the team managers took Amunike to the governor. The normal
protocol.
visit. The governor said, and I didn't miss that because I was looking out for such. He said, Amunike didn't come cheap. And that is saying a lot.
That's saying a lot.
Yes,
from
the
a
governor
Nigerian
said it.
governor.
He said Amunike did not come cheap. And I know Amunike from when he was in Super Eagles. He always stands his ground. This is what I want. It's a matter of take it or leave it.
Okay.
So our coaches
is a good angle to it actually.
Yeah, so
don't be desperate. Don't be because I always say that time we started as reporters, 94 and all that. A lot of people will come videos of their children.
Yes.
I was at DBI, please, they will offer you money. Play videos of, I will tell them, I'm not going to take money from you. If I take money from you, I'm being fraudulent. If your child is good enough, wherever they play, it gets to a point, a coach will not ignore a good player.
Absolutely.
So and that's the thing with Shegun. I always feel that the argument against most Nigerian coaches is that they don't do enough to earn the sport in terms of individual achievements as coaches, and that some of them just get a free ride and they expect to. Some 94 set have been accused of a sense of entitlement actually in terms of wanting national team jobs even at under 17, under 20 level. Do you agree to that assessment?
Well, I want to be very, very careful how I pick my words now, because one, I don't have any evidence for what I'm about to say, but from looking at the evidence of my own eyes, you can see when things are not exactly the way they should be. Nigerian coaches have been accused of playing favorites.
Okay, players, in terms of players, playing personnel, okay.
That maybe shouldn't be there. Although, ironically, the foreign coaches have caught up with that as well. Because the system at times is so murky, you don't really have an opaque. You can't really tell.
Let me tell you a story. I won't mention, because like you said, I also don't have
no proof,
concrete proof, but I won't mention the coach. And I won't mention the player so that people don't put two and two together. A foreign journalist friend of mine, there was a Nigerian player who had just been, who moved to a club in some European country. And a foreign journalist friend of mine told me that guy was going to get picked to the national team. He was about to move. You know about all this national team quota, you have to play some places before you can get your work permit. And he told me that in the camp, and it was a foreign coach in charge at the time, that in the camp, people have influenced the coaching crew to pick the particular player so that he will be able to make up the number of Super Eagles games he needs to play to get a work permit. He mentioned the player's name, and I'm like, my friend, go and sit down. That player cannot get picked. Lo and behold, that player played the next 3 games. And he got his transfer.
In order to satisfy that quota.
I had that info about a month before the transfer.
I'm happy that happened to you.
Yes.
All right. Why I say
but
that?
What I'm trying to say is that they accuse a lot of local coaches for doing that. Well, this time it was a foreign coach.
When it comes to corruption,
it doesn't have color.
Exactly.
Corruption
is not a Yoruba language.
It's
not an Igbo language. Corruption is an English word.
Yes.
And that is to describe something that's happening in the
Do we
society
have a
well.
vernacular word for corruption?
So it doesn't really matter whether somebody is a foreign coach. It's again down to the individual in terms of
No, because that's what some people have against local coaches.
Oh, okay.
They act like local coaches always do that. But I'm giving you the argument that it happens under foreign coaches as well.
Because, and I will continue the vein of choosing my words carefully. The late great Stephen Keshi, I had the privilege of being in South Africa. I think from the only game I didn't watch.
Okay, the
Remember,
2013. We did a show together for
the first game. Then after I was there to the very end. I couldn't believe that one was there to the end. Do you understand?
Because you thought you were coming back
after a couple of weeks or something, man. It was brilliant. And so we got it bang on. And I remember then I used to write for the Punch, and I wrote, when I think I wrote, who is Sunday Umba? Because he said we had like 5 MPFL players
in that
team. And those 5 MPFL players, Godfrey Opoabana, Sunday, they played key roles in our success, and I hope that's something that one day we can go back to that mind.
Deji Tinubu, my late friend and partner, was in the NFF at the time.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
our radio show, Sports Express, that still goes on. And before we met Côte d'Ivoire, everybody had written us off. Côte d'Ivoire, Yaya Touré, Didier Drogba. The story we heard was even that the NFF or NFA, was the NFA at the time, had booked tickets, return tickets. That's not confirmed.
I heard the story. Mm-hmm.
So Deji calls me before we went on air on the morning of the match. And I'll never forget the story, and it was a profound story. And he says, Omot, that's what he calls me from my surname, Omot, I want you to go on air and predict that Nigeria will win this game and say I said so. While I had hopes, I wasn't seeing it. Mm. I said, I spoke to Stephen Keshi. And before Keshi took part, once or twice we had this conversation, it was like at that time that the only person he discussed football with in NFL was Deji Tinubu. He told me that at some event where he was being honored. He said, the tactics Keshi has outlined to me that he wants to play, that he was sure will be Côte d'Ivoire. So I went on air. I took his word for it. I wasn't 100% sold, but I took his word for it.
All right.
And coming from him, and then coming from Keshi, like you said, I went on air, and I predicted that Nigeria would beat Côte d'Ivoire. And we got absolutely slated.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Felt us.
Yes, now.
And then the game came. And, they won the game. So it goes to underline why I said this about coaches. A coach is a coach. I don't care whether he's a foreign coach or a local coach. A coach that knows his onions is a coach that we want. The 2 best coaches that we've had in terms of achievement and pedigree will be Westerhoff and Keshi. Both won Nations Cups. Both will get to World Cup and got to the second round. Maybe you can want to mention Bonfrey in that equation because of the. But Olympic gold is actually not national team.
That's fine.
Because it's an age grade
it's an age
competition. But quickly, we can't talk about Nigerian coaches without talking about Bonfrey Joe.
But I just like to round up on my point about Keshi.
Okay, sorry.
Although I was in stadium that day, and for 2 or 3 days there was alarm in the Côte d'Ivoire camp because what was the second striker? There was Drogba and Kalu. They were missing because Omeru and Opoabana pocketed them for 90 minutes.
Part of the tactics they did mention to me was that the fact that Keshi told the players that Drogba touches the ball away from, when the ball comes to him back to goal, he touches it away from his body. For you to know the detail. Mm-hmm. That once that they should just wait, step behind him. Once it touches away from the body,
collect it.
Take it. It was that detail.
Absolutely. You see, and Deji, I'm sorry to say, that is why I insist on differentiating
on your hybrid.
Nigerian, how did I describe
hybrid?
Hybrid. You see, look, that kind of detail could only have come from somebody who has played football at the highest level.
At the highest level. I hear you.
Who has worked with the best coaches in the world. And whether we like it or not, Western Europe is the capital of world football.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not,
it's true.
Western Europe is the capital of world football.
But where I want
So it's our players who have played in that environment that can qualify to, know the kind of that detail. And that is not saying that Nigerian purely local coaches cannot aspire to that level. Okay, but for them to have that kind of first-hand experience, it means they have to go maybe on secondment. This is not something that you get maybe 2 weeks when somebody comes from Europe and then they have this calf.
Look at local examples.
Keshi was in Europe for more
local
than 10
example.
years.
Local example. A young coach doing well, great things. Might probably win the league. This Daniel Ogumodede with Remo Stars. Yeah. I think he went to one Portuguese team for like a year or so to brush himself up, and we can see
on secondment,
on secondment. Now we can see the results. You have to invest in yourself.
Absolutely. So for the Keshis and the Ulises and the Amunikes, they had the opportunity because they played out there, so they didn't have to spend the extra money to go and train. Working with the best coaches already we always say you can't buy experience in the market.
Yeah.
So I would say, if Nigerian coaches want to have more respect, if they want to have more opportunities to coach the national team, they need to improve their performances. Shegun already said it. This game is about results. Let's see your results with the local club that you are working with.
A CV.
Okay.
From the ground up.
I gave the example of Shaibu Amadu.
He won an African title.
He won an African title, African Cup Winners' Cup. And so when we were looking for a local coach, it wasn't difficult for the NFA to pick him. So Nigerian coaches have to show the results they have with their club sides. They have to qualify for the continent. They have to play in the CAF Champions League.
Play well.
In the group stages.
Do well.
Don't get knocked out in the preliminary round.
We are accusing the 94 team of a sense of entitlement. The same thing will happen to the local coaches if they say, because we are local coaches, we have to get it. No, you don't have to get it.
Shegun, how do we solve the conundrum now that Mumini said it? We cannot afford the top of the line international coaches. So how do we assess this, quote and unquote, I don't want to use Johnny Man, but maybe average or a lower, even not second tier, maybe third tier of international. How do we, so that we make the correct or proper choices? What would you be looking for if you are tasked with the point of Shegun, appoint a coach for Nigerian football? What would be your parameters?
I think you have to decide on what direction you want to go. I mean, there's a story I monitored this one about Rigobert's son being owed 8 months' salary by the government. I think if there's one football association that the NFF can look down on, it's brothers with their wonderful chairman who says he also wants to go for CAF as well. Never ever.
Don't be surprised. Shegun, don't write him off.
That's politics.
Don't write him off. You never can tell. Don't write him off.
There was one in place for decades. I think the NFF they have to have a policy. What do they want? I feel that we should look inwards. I feel that they like the Fidelis Ilechikukus, the Daniel Gumodedis, the Mama Makapabos. We have even the academic coach, who is currently at Nigeria under 20. We have some decent, the Emmanuel Amunikes, the Augustin Guavons himself. Cerezo, for me, has been one of your luckiest.
His record in the national team is actually very decent.
I think it was hugely unfortunate.
You know, he's the only coach I know. I'm sorry, I may be wrong. Who got sacked because lost a friendly match to Ghana? You remember in London, 3-0. And we felt so bad about it that can Ghana beat us? And all that rivalry, emotions got into it.
Yes, this is something I went to go and wipe Algeria.
5-1 away. I remember that too.
Qualifying, so we're very unfortunate in AFCON. We won our group stages. Then a couple of bad decisions from players. It won't be getting sent off, you understand? And then World Cup qualifying, our game in Kumasi. How we didn't beat Ghana in Ghana, I will never know. It's not goalless, and then another error from a goalkeeper. We're chasing the game. They just threw the baby out with the bathwater.
Well, I think to try and answer Deji's question about the kind of coaches that we should always go for. Yeah. To be honest, we're not the only country in the conundrum when it comes to picking coaches. I'm sure you know that it's a global challenge. It is.
Brazil,
they're still looking for solutions.
England
have
a German, and all kinds of criticism has followed that appointment.
Germany of all places, the old enemy. That's where England went for their coach.
Yeah.
Okay? So even at club level,
it's very tough to.
I'm sorry. Man, you in the last 10 years, a 1,000,001 coaches.
The thing is that.
So you see,
you never know what will work.
That is it. That's where I'm coming to.
You never know.
That is where I'm coming, because I remember it's what we usually says that look, football will embarrass you. You think you are the best. There was a time Mourinho was the special one. Now they say now he's the crying one or something like that.
Where is he now? Fenerbahce,
yeah.
So it's it's touch and go. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't work for you. Keshi won the AFCON in 2013.
Yeah.
The following AFCON, we didn't qualify.
Well, in fact,
All right?
they ran up
we
to
didn't even qualify for the next
rounding
AFCON.
up on the Keshi thing itself. 2013, he
Yeah.
did so well. 2014,
Yeah.
it's not good speaking of there, but I was not happy with the constitution of the squad
To the
To the
squad
World
for the
Cup.
World
to
Cup.
the World Cup.
And
It
that
was-
showed
it
we
was
didn't qualify for
not-
the next
it was
AFCON.
not it.
So, and this is the coach that won the AFCON just 2 years before. We'll look at Bonfrey, all right? Bonfrey won the AFCON. He took us to the final in 2000.
2000, Nigeria, Ghana 2000.
Nigerian Ghana 2000.
Who won it? Who won
and
in
I want to
2000?
remember.
Won
It
in
was
2000.
Cameroon.
Cameroon
They
won.
beat us here
Another
at the
one.
National Stadium.
The ball crossing line.
The ball crossed the line.
The ball crossed the line.
Victor Ekpeba's penalty.
Going back to that 2000, just a little bit of a distraction. Something I won't forget about Bonfrey was that semi-final against South Africa. Today, the tactical switch when he brought Babangida from right wing to play on the
Today
right.
is a common thing.
It's a common thing now. And this is what
Inverted
something,
winger.
this is something that Bonfrey did 25 years ago.
Wow.
And I remember those of us in the media, we were all saying, how can you play right? Babangida is a right winger. How do you put him on the left? And I spoke to Bonfrey and he said to me, look, Mark Fish, who is one of the central defenders for South Africa, he said he has a right foot and he has a weak left foot.
Standing left foot only good for standing.
His left foot was only good for standing. And he wants Babangida to run onto that left foot.
Oh, I see.
And Babangida scored 2 goals.
Okay,
Yeah.
on to cut to
To cut inside.
To cut inside.
To cut inside. So,
Because if it goes on the outside,
Of course,
you
that's
will
strong
stop
right
him. And Babangida scored
those are
2
the
goals.
tiny details.
Those are the details we are talking about. Okay? So, at the end of the day, luck is an element there. Okay? For a coach in terms of success. I mean, USA 94, we got so close to beating Italy. If we had beaten Italy, maybe we would probably have gone all the way to the final.
You never know.
Yeah.
Okay?
You never know.
But because West Ham didn't make some changes, we lost. And so
You know, I always feel that honestly, coaching is one of the toughest jobs in the world.
absolutely. I agree
Because
with
you need too many things working
work in your
together
favor.
for it to work in your favor. You need all your 11 or 15 or 16 players to be in good form.
to be
In
with
sync.
the head correct.
You need a referee not to give bad decisions against you. You need, too many,
And so many of these factors are not within your control.
and within your control. So
And our
to be
our
successful,
super coach of today,
it's been shown up.
Guardiola.
Gadra.
so what are we talking
And
about?
I think the conclusion we can run away from
Yes.
here is that, yes, we can criticize the choice of a coach and all, but it's very difficult to know what works. There are times you feel, this is a sure banker, successful coach will come, he will bomb. At times you wonder, where did they find this man?
He's a journey
He
man.
will succeed. So many variables, and maybe the elements working in your favor, the universe aligning for you. But quickly before we go, how do we go with Eric Charles? What do we expect from him with these 2 crucial qualifiers this month?
6 points.
6 points.
That's it. If we want to qualify for the World Cup,
Anything short might be calamitous. 6 points.
It's
6 points.
6 points.
6 points.
Is it
Nothing
possible?
less.
Absolutely possible, but it's down to the players.
Okay.
The players must want it.
I wrote an article on our website, Super Eagles, time to be BBC. Bold, brave, confident.
Yeah.
And I wrote that they need to, beyond tactics and coaching, they have to get into a warrior mode.
The players must want
The
it.
players must want it.
I think,
And I think
I
that's
agree
it.
with you 100%. I think it's all about, it's really not about the coach now.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
You can only
it's
tell
not,
them
it's
it's
not.
about the players.
It's about the players.
It's about
Because
the
I've
players.
seen, because
I'll
if I-
send you guys the article.
please.
It's about the players.
Because
It's about the players.
if I've ever seen a set of Super Eagles let down their coach, it was that loss to Benin. I've never seen a shambolic
And you know, this
performance.
maybe a good thing going forward. A lot of these guys have not been to the World Cup. And this
That
is a
should be
coach.
enough motivation.
And this is a coach who also has a great opportunity
Yeah,
to make
to
a
make a
name
name.
for himself.
Yeah.
So maybe those 2 combining together
Yeah.
might get us over the line. So we have to end it here, gentlemen. Always a pleasure on
fun.
Legends Lounge podcast talking about Nigerian coaches. Like we said, coaching is Like Shegun said in Yoruba, EJ. Like I said in English,
Like,
Ajebota.
Ajebota. You want to show me your Ajebota? Mini.
You never can tell what works, but we are hoping and praying that Eric Chell works for the Super Eagles.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on episode 6 of the Legends Lounge podcast. Bye-bye.